with us. Well, a Russian Olympian lives to skate another day. 15-year-old figure skater Kamila Valieva will be allowed to continue at the Beijing Winter Games despite testing positive for a banned heart drug in December. Last hour, the Court of Arbitration for Sport declined to suspend the teen skater since she had limited time to mount a defense in the case and because of special circumstances since she is a minor.
First, the athlete is under 16 and is a protected person under the World Anti-Doping Code. The anti-doping rules of RUSADA and the World Anti-Doping Code are silent with respect to provisional suspension imposed on protected persons.
CNN sports analyst Christine Brennan says even though it was a positive outcome for Valieva, it's a black mark on the Beijing Winter Games. Listen.
I would have said she should not be competing here. Total sympathy to the 15-year-old. It's the adults in her life who did this. The adults should be looked at, and they will be looked at, her coach and others, her team around her, because, you know, she's not making these decisions. The adults are, John. So for me, I think this is a terrible black mark on the Olympic Games. A woman who had, even though she's 15 and we're very sympathetic, a woman who had a positive drug test less than 2 months ago will be competing in the women's competition and likely winning the women's competition. What a disastrous PR nightmare of a headline that is.
CNN World Sports' Patrick Snell is here in Atlanta, but let's go first to Stephen Jiang in Beijing with the very latest. So, Stephen, the Court of Arbitration for Sport has ruled that Russian ice skater Kamila Valieva will be allowed to continue competing in the Olympics because, as a minor, she's protected under anti-doping rules. What are the ramifications of this decision, and what has been the reaction so far?
Rosemary, the reactions have been swift and mixed. The U.S. Olympic Committee, the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, expressing their doubts and disappointment over this decision and saying how the Olympic Committee should be upholding the highest standard of integrity in sports, allowing athletes to compete on a level playing field, and this decision seems to be flying in the face of all that. But on China's closely monitored social media, there seemed to be quite a bit of cheering or even support for Valieva and her team. But with many users really seem to view the whole episode from a very geopolitical point of view, probably as a sign of our time. But what needs to be stressed here, of course, is that CAS decision is very narrowly focused. It's really addressing only one technical procedural issue. But it's not really addressing the issue of whether or not she has committed a doping offense and what's going to happen to the Russians' gold medal from that team event last Monday, just 1 day before her positive test result returned. Now, the panel, as you may have heard, seemed to be really showing sympathy because she's a minor, as you mentioned, but also they seem to be siding with the Russians on several arguments, including how she's been testing negative since she arrived here in Beijing, and of course, pointing to the length of time for the lab in Sweden to return her test result. Now, all of this, of course, is not very satisfying for many people, including the IOC, which said they actually would like to see everything settled once and for all, but they simply couldn't bring all the parties involved on board for that to happen. So for now, there are separate, more thorough procedures happening to investigate the adults around Valieva, for example, and also to decide what's going to happen to the Russian gold medal from the team event. And also, the IOC has pointed out if she wins on Tuesday, conceivably, she could take home a medal, but that medal could be revoked later if a separate process finds her guilty of doping. So with that decision, one question answered, many other things left hanging with many people left quite upset, Rosemary.
Yeah, indeed. And Patrick, how much concern does a decision like this raise, and does it taint the Games when dealing with doping cases, particularly in relation to Russian athletes, given their history?
Well, Rosemary, yeah, I think, however this ends, and we're far from the end of this right now, yeah, these games will be forever tainted from that point of view. It's what people are all talking about right now. There's so many questions that remained unanswered. And whatever the final outcome regarding the medals, and there is so much more to come on that, a doping scandal that's going to be scrutinized and analyzed for a very long time to come. But here's the thing, let's just remind our viewers worldwide. Russia is already under restrictions for system violations of anti-doping rules. This follows a 2019 WADA decision, WADA being the World Anti-Doping Agency. Remember, it banned Russia from participating in international sporting competitions following allegations of state-sponsored doping going back to the 2014 Winter Games that Russia hosted in Sochi. That ban's set to expire later on this year. Until then, though, that is why Russian athletes are allowed to compete as neutrals under the Russian Olympic Committee. But let us sink in just for a few moments. Valieva, who returned that positive test during the Russian figure skating championships, that was on Christmas Day last year, in St. Petersburg, in her homeland, cleared to compete at these games. So what's going to happen now? Well, it means the 15-year-old can compete in the short program of the women's singles competition. That's on Tuesday there in China. She's the favourite for gold in the women's singles. Remember, she's already won the gold medal in the team event, but that gold medal, remember, not awarded. Will it ever be, I wonder? Now the USA, they won silver in that team event. We did get reaction from them coming in from America's Olympic Committee, expressing its disappointment and then adding these words really do stand out for me. Athletes have the right to know they are competing on a level playing field. Unfortunately, today that right is being denied. This appears to be another chapter in the systemic and pervasive disregard for clean sport by Russia. We know this case is not yet closed, and we call on everyone in the Olympic movement to continue to fight for clean sport on behalf of athletes around the world. So really strong words. But look, in summary, Rosemary, a cloud over these games, no question about that. And here's other things that come to mind. What impact is this going to have on the 15-year-old in question when it comes to her performance amid such scrutiny now? How will other competitors react to her? Limited fans as well in the stands watching. How are they going to react? One thing is clear to me, the global fight against doping could not be more important right now at this time. But there is so much more to come on this story, Rosemary.
Yeah, a lot of questions to be answered there. Patrick Snell, Stephen Young, many thanks to you both. Appreciate it.